welcome to Life Ablaze. My guides have indicated to me that today is going to be on the topic of trust, so I'm going to let them take it away. We are here. We welcome you. We are indeed here to discuss the idea of trust. Now, we understand that this particular topic is one that can be a bit touchy for people. And there are many reasons for this. First and foremost, that the trust has been, in a sense, violated by others. Now, the trust that we are speaking of is the trust that you have for the intuitive messages that you are receiving from your higher mind. And unfortunately, because of the way that your relationships have been in your past experience, you have no doubt experienced many situations wherein your trust has been unfounded, where your trust has been violated. And we would say this: the connection that you have with your higher mind is one that can always be trusted, because in a sense, it is you. It is a higher version of you, but it is as much a part of you as your heart or your mind or your hands. And therefore, a violation of trust from your higher mind would be nonsensical, because it would be subject to whatever guidances it gives you. So for instance, if it tells you to turn left, and you decide to listen to it, and you turn left, and you fall into a ditch, the higher mind is not then having a laugh at you, because the higher mind has gone into the ditch with you, in a sense. And so we want to initiate this conversation from the perspective that this is not a separate entity that you need to build trust with in the way that perhaps you perceive other individuals, and perhaps they will uphold your trust. Perhaps they will be worthy of your trust, and perhaps they will not. We would tell you that the higher mind, your intuition, your gut, is always something that you can trust. We would add here that the experience, if you were to follow your intuitive messages, this does not mean that the experience that you will have will always be happy, will always feel warm and fuzzy, because there are many situations wherein there is an important message that you are receiving from your higher mind. And that message may be decidedly inconvenient for you, but it is still the most important message for you to receive at that moment. As an example, let us say that you have a trip to take. And let us say you have a flight on a particular plane. And while this particular scenario has been planned out, has been orchestrated and paid for and planned long in advance, and you have, in a sense, set your expectations on going on this particular trip. Let us say the morning of, you get a very strong intuition that says, don't go. It can be a very simple message. Sometimes that may be all you receive. Sometimes it may feel a sense of foreboding as you think about getting on that particular flight. And you can decide from there whether you choose to align with that message or not. But we would say you would not be getting that information if it was not relevant for you, if it was not important enough for you to have received that message. For the higher mind does not send you messages willy-nilly. It does not send you messages that are casual conversations. Fluff. There is no fluff from the higher mind. They are all relevant, important communications. And so in this particular scenario, you might find that if you had gone, something drastic might have happened to you, or you would have missed out on a golden opportunity that was at your home location. And so if you had taken that flight, then you would have missed the rendezvous with an individual where an opportunity presented itself. So there are many different reasons why you might get that sense. But we would highly recommend you follow these messages. Now, back to the main idea of trust. Trusting in your intuitive messages is something that is of vital importance in the sense that it would greatly serve you in terms of coming into your alignment with your higher mind, to begin to open yourself up to trusting the messages unconditionally, to receive them. And to receive them in the sense that if you receive the message, it is for a good reason. You are not given premonitions of doom in the sense that here is something that you cannot change. If you are given premonitions of doom, it is because precisely for the reason that there is something within your power to change. Something about it. It can be as simple as how you will respond. You may not be able to change the events that you have been foretold, if that is the scenario. But you can change how you respond to them, and that can make a world of difference to you and to everyone else involved. And so, in establishing trust, this is true for any relationship, but it goes even more so for your higher mind. Because again, your higher mind is you, and it will never violate your trust. So, in building trust, there is the idea that one must allow a relationship to prove themselves first. we would disagree with this idea. Because in all situations, you must, at some point, allow yourself to be vulnerable. You must allow for the other person to have your trust. And you may then, once you extend this trust to an unproven source, you may then watch to see, will they keep my trust or will they violate my trust? And many of you will then decide from there whether to continue strengthening the relationship based on the results. Now, we understand this, and we are not saying not to utilize this mechanism. However, it still begins with you choosing to extend your trust first. You must, before you have received evidence that a source is trustworthy, you must decide to extend that source trust anyway, in the beginning. You must decide for yourself to take a risk. And from there, then you receive support of one idea or another, whether you can trust this source or not. Now, in relationships between individuals on your planet, this is a more complicated scenario in the sense that some may prove that they are trustworthy and later violate that trust and other complications. Now, part of the challenge in that is that if you have, let us say in that scenario, established trust with a particular individual and later find that they have violated your trust, it leaves you with a choice to make from there. Do I extend trust to another individual? Do I allow myself to be vulnerable again when this time it has shown me that I should not have trusted this individual? Again, these things get complicated with individuals, but we would say this: vulnerability is the only way you will know alignment with your higher mind. And you cannot allow specific individuals who have violated your trust for one reason or another to become the architects of your life, to be the deciding factors in your life in which you will decide not to trust new individuals. Now, let us move away from the trust between individuals and to the trust with your higher mind. Many of you are coming to this idea as far as your relationship with your own intuition. And you are looking at this as if you cannot trust it, as if it is an individual that you are wary of. This can only produce mixed results. This is akin to what we were discussing in a previous video, where it is one step forward, one step back. If you are deciding to trust, but then scrutinizing the message, looking for the other shoe to fall, so to speak, looking for where your trust will be violated, then sure enough, you will create the experience that your trust has been violated. And you will return to the loop of believing you cannot trust your intuition. But your higher mind will never stop communicating with you because it is you. It will ceaselessly continue communicating with you, sending you messages. And so, even if you decide, I cannot trust my intuition, it will never stop. And it will continue to give messages. And if you are listening in any small way to the messages that you are receiving, you will know that it speaks the truth. It will still tell you, perhaps in another situation with another individual, don't trust this person. And you may decide, I'm going to not trust my intuition instead and trust this person. And down the line, you find that your intuition was correct and attempting to guide you in a more holistic direction. And so we would say, trust is vital. And the most important trust that you can have is for your own feelings, for your own intuitions. For these are the messages of your higher self, of your higher mind. These are your own love messages to yourself. And you cannot experience what it feels like to have a complete trust in this until you allow yourself to be vulnerable and to discover what the messages are, and most importantly, to begin to act on them, even if they are uncomfortable, especially if they are uncomfortable. The channel himself has experienced this to the degree in which he is here before you now, channeling a message. He does not know exactly what is going to be coming forth from his own mouth, but he trusts the message. He has begun a relationship in the sense that he knows that it is only information for his own highest good and the highest good of all who would come to hear this message. He knows that this is the only information that will come forth through him, and nothing else will be allowed through. And each time he shows up to allow a channeled message to come through, this trust is reinforced. This trust is proven yet again. And in so doing, the connection between the channel and his higher mind strengthens, and to where, again, the gap between the two becomes smaller and smaller and more imperceptible, to the degree to which he becomes a living version of his own higher mind in the physical, as much as is possible, as much as the physical body can contain that. And this is the birthright of all humans. This is not a unique experience for this channel by any stretch of the imagination. You can have this. You can be this. And you can be your own expression of this. And it begins and ends with your trust in it. We thank you for this opportunity to present this message to you, and we will speak to you again. We thank you. Thank you so much. See you next time.